So could you tell me a little bit about your background in agriculture?
Oh, well, the usual one really. Family farm, college, and I've got a brother who runs the farm, so I've always done contracting. And for years I've had three-wheel Terragators doing fertiliser, and had seen these machines made in Holland when I had the visit to the factory. And about 3 years ago, looked like there was a good opportunity. Initially it was with the new regulations coming out with MVZs and stuff like that. But what's really overtaken everything recently is the price of fertiliser and the savings that farmers can make utilising their slurry better, basically.
Can you tell me a little bit about the philosophy behind the design and production of these particular machines?
Well, they started in the early 90s when in Holland made you have to inject slurry by law because it's such a small country and such a lot of slurry from the big industry they had. There was quite big environmental problems. So people naturally started by putting tankers behind tractors, etc., deep injecting and various different methods. And it was more pretty similar to how we've been. Though they were injecting, it was in a out of sight, out of mind fashion. And then through the early 90s, people came up with the idea of doing it via self-propelled and actually utilising the nutrient content of the slurry, which is then when the development really accelerated. At that point, suddenly you need straight away to be able to program a rate into a machine, and whatever speed you're doing with the machine, put the required rate on, because you're using the slurry as a fertiliser, so it has to be accurate. So that came. Then gradually the injectors have improved, so you get a fuller utilisation of the nutrients from the injection.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the slurry injection business that you're currently doing?
Right, that's the interesting part of that really is you can replace inorganic fertiliser with slurry. And it's quite difficult to get farmers onto it. They have to change their whole philosophy about how they view slurry, whether it be pig or dairy. And they've got to go through, you've got to test the material to give you an idea about how much plant food's in there. The beauty about injecting is that it gives you an even spread right the way across the field. You know exactly how much plant food you're putting on. And you're really replacing inorganic fertiliser application. There's a lot of different ways of doing it. You can achieve an even spread with drop hoses and various other bits of equipment. But to really get slurry to work, you have to make a little slot in the ground. It doesn't matter. Sometimes, if it's nice and soft, you can get in an inch, 2 inches. With a disc injector, we don't usually work any deeper than that. But when it's really hard, I suppose that's the other advantage with a Terragator. They've got so much power. Pushing the injector in, it'll almost put it in a concrete road, I should think. And you just got you have to inject it to really get your best return from it.
And where would you see the future of Terragator and slurry injection over the next few years?
I think it's got a very good future. I think we need a take-up of it because it's a message that the farmers can do something environmentally sensitive and make money at the same time. It's actually the farmer understanding that his slurry is worth an amount of money. At the moment, about £10 per cubic metre, which is about £45 per 1,000 gallons. So a machine like this holds £150 worth of NPK every time it goes out of the yard. So we can do the right thing, but make money as well. So I think injection's got a very good future. And I think gradually through time, what we'll see is that injection will progress to being done by contractors with self-propelled machines as it has on the continent, and as we've seen other operations in this country like forage harvesting, for instance.
What sort of savings do you feel you can make by moving to slurry injection as opposed to inorganic fertiliser?
I reckon at today's prices, roughly it costs a third of what inorganic fertiliser costs. Every £10,000 they spend, they'll be saving 20,000 quid on bought-in fertiliser, and that's only a year or 12 months ago. They would have been making they're making a good saving, but not nearly as much as that. Probably as much as a quarter they'd save. But I mean, now it's just ridiculous the amount of money they can save. And the farmer on now, he doesn't buy fertiliser. He probably buys a little bit just to top up on various areas we haven't got quite enough muck. But he'll inject everything bit of muck he's got and makes a huge saving.
Could you run us through the Terragator system, maybe from filling through to cab?
Well, on this particular machine we have what we call a superload system, which uses a secondary pump to speed up filling. So that will pump at around 14 cubic metres a minute. So something like this, which is a 15 cubic metre, 3,300 gallon tank, will fill in just over a minute. Everything passes into the machine via a cutter. Why we do that, if we cut it coming into the tank, it would minimises any problems with the material going through the injector, because the injector has a distribution head on it that can be subject to blockage if you get the wrong material in it. So we make every effort to minimise the chances of that by processing the material before it goes in the tank. So it's come through the cutter, and when we inject, we set a rate into the computer in the cab, and regardless of speed it puts that rate on. It does that by varying the speed of the pump, because it's what we call a positive displacement pump, which is a twin rotor pump which always pumps exactly the same volume of material per rotation. So it does that by varying the rotation of the pump. On this particular machine we have a 9 cubic metre pump that passes through to the back of the machine and then into the injector, which has a distribution head to evenly distribute it across the width of the machine. One thing's worth pointing out, on a machine like this, with the positive displacement slurry system, the slurry goes where you want it to go. So with this machine, for instance, you can set it to recirculate, so it'll circulate the liquid around the tank to lift up any debris in the tank, or mix material, do whatever you like.
One of the unique features it has on this machine is what they call dog walk, and all 4 wheels will go on a separate bit of ground. And even when you're top dressing cereals in the spring in poor conditions, you leave very little mark on the crop. They have to have a little bit of a not look at it for about a week, 10 days, because especially if it's a bit wet in the spring, it'll look a bit scruffy. But once the crop gets hold of the fertiliser or the muck, it's off and you can't see where you've been at all.
And in terms of technology in the cab, into computer systems, etc., what have we got there?
We've got a touchscreen computer system that monitors the pump and every activity of the machine. It's quite important on a machine like this that has a 2-stage pumping system for filling, in that to enable the quick filling speed we need automation in the changeover of pumps, so the computer's ideally suited to do that.
How would you see your injection business developing over the next few years?
I've been doing it 3 years now. I actually have bought a blooming Terragator most of those years because I've had to increase my output. It's been growing about 50% a year at the moment, and the machine I've got now is just awesome. This is a really high output machine, and it really looking to cater for my big arable customers. They want to see you cover the ground, and we're doing 60 to 80 acres a day this time of year, and so other times of year it's about volumes, and this machine does both. Just has huge pumps in it and wide injectors, and you can just get through the volume. Future is rosy, really. I think everybody wins. The environment wins because you're disposing of it in a controlled manner. Farmer wins because he's saving loads of money, and I win because I've got a profitable business. So there's no downside to injecting at all. And when I started, you always try to look for the downsides, and my accountant, who likes to cross every T and dot every I, went through it, but she said, where is the downside? And I don't think there is one. It's everybody wins.